This is Module 1 for school law. We're analyzing our own perspective. A little about myself. My name is Sarah Dirks. I am a high school science teacher at Blue Valley Northwest. I'm in my 18th year of teaching, 8 years at Northwest. I am, as you can see, the student government sponsor. I've been doing that for 4 years. I coach girls bowling. Been doing that for 14 total between a couple different schools. 1 year as a JV golf coach, and I'm also the diversity council sponsor for the school, which also leads me to be on the district diversity council board. A little about our school. We are a school of 1,600 students, and we are a large school, and Blue Valley School District in general is known as a pretty high academically achieving school district. We are very successful athletically, and those are great things. I also like to point out that we are pretty demographically homogenous when you compare us to maybe some other schools in Johnson County, where we are located in the northeast corner of the state, and comparatively to other schools in our state. But we do a great job in our district of celebrating diversity and keeping all kids safe regardless of demographic. I like to point out that we have had the same head principal for 14 years, had lots of conversations with other people about, on average, a principal only stays in a building for about 4 years in the United States, and it takes a lot longer to establish a culture, and so our principal's done a great job in her tenure of establishing a great culture because of her ability to lead a building well. She's had a lot of different associate principals. We've had 12 different associate principals in my 8 years of being at Northwest since I started, and so because of that, there's moments where that culture has taken a little bit to be established. That being said, that goes on to the 3 questions that we've been asked to analyze. The first one being, how has school administration demonstrated knowledge of federal and state laws, as well as school board policy that provides a safe learning environment where all students are encouraged to learn? I believe that if you want to talk district-wise, our district has worked very hard over the past couple of years to encompass the whole, all means all, and keeping all kids safe beyond just the physical aspects. So the past couple of years have really focused on school safety. Our school board policy when it comes to school safety has been a high priority. I think we can say that's true for all schools. And so at the beginning of the year, they established a good report and just here's why these policies are changing. These are school board policies. These are things that are mandated by the state. They're pretty transparent when it comes to that sort of thing. I put in there IEPs. I think that's probably the most practical way that we see our knowledge of state and federal law being played out and how we best meet the needs of our students who qualify for an IEP or a 504. But in addition, I've been able to go to all of our principals at any point and ask questions when I'm not entirely sure as to why certain things are happening or why we can't do certain things. Being the Diversity Council sponsor, I've been tasked with putting together an assembly every year, and we have to look at, when we put together an assembly, the sorts of activities or entertainment or people who come and speak, are they meeting the needs of our students and are they under the purview of our board policy? So those are ways that I've been privileged to work for people that I feel very comfortable having those conversations with. So those are just a couple ways. As for myself, I went to graduate school and graduated in 2001, and that was the last time I was a student. And obviously in graduate school, we have to take a school law class, and I took education, religion, and law. It was just this one outlier class that they offered that year, and I was really fascinated with all that. And most of the work we did focused on the intersection of education and religion. So we read Supreme Court cases dealing with prayer in school and and public schools versus private schools, and how money was distributed and whatnot. And so I learned a ton, but that was 20 years ago. And since it hasn't been something that I've actively had to use, I know that most of that is kind of in the back of my mind. And so I'm looking forward to bringing that to the forefront again. That being said, I do know the basics. And I think hopefully most educators do. I know the basics of my job as an educator, the safety of my students being the priority. And then on top of that, when it comes to communication with parents and guardians, when it comes to what can be done and not done in my classroom, and obviously on a whole school level when it comes to assemblies or activities. I put on there that I get fired up. There are a few board policies that are personal to me. In the state of Kansas, we have a few state laws that I feel are not as protective of certain communities and certain demographics, diversity demographics in our state. And because they're not state mandated, they're not on our board policy. And so sometimes those are things that get me fired up. So I'm more knowledgeable of things that affect me personally than I'm about things that affect the whole. That being said, the last is what is your plan to enhance your current knowledge? I do have a desire to learn and grow. I think if I want to have any sort of role in an administration, and I don't know if I necessarily want to be a principal, but I do know that I want to work for a district. I want to affect curriculum. I want to affect culture in a building. I want to work with HR and hiring practices, and I need to know the law. And so my plan is to make sure that I'm making the most of this class, making the most of the community that we're going to build through the Google community. And hopefully, as I take more classes through this program, getting to know more people and being able to ask questions. So that is my plan, and I appreciate you listening.